September of 2005. We were talking about death, believe it or not. He often did. Begging my body's not worth a damn. He'd often say that. We talked about Fielding Yost, who had Alzheimer's, probably some sort of dementia near the end of his life. Would have to get picked up by the Ann Arbor cops and driven home after wandering around the streets of Ann Arbor telling football stories. We talked about Bear Bryant, who passed away 2 months after he retired. We talked about Woody Hayes, who spent the final months of his life in a wheelchair. And every time we talked about this, Bo said, I don't want to go like that. I don't want to go like that. Every single time. And I see Dave nodding, you've heard the same stuff. Bo had definite ideas about this. So I asked him, out of the blue, September of 2005, 14 months before he goes, I said, if you had one more week to coach again at the height of your powers, what would you ask for? And he said this, and I'm not kidding you, you're not going to believe this. This is what he said. If I could find my paper, it'd be a lot more effective, wouldn't it? Okay, maybe some former coaches in their heart of hearts would want to be in the limelight again at a press conference or giving a speech to their adoring alums or on TV talking to ABC during halftime. That's not me, and I think anybody who really knows me knows that. Maybe Bacon thought I'd ask for another shot at the Rose Bowl or a national title or even a chance to replay that great Michigan-Ohio State game of 1969. Now, those things, maybe I would love one more crack. But if you granted me just one more week as Michigan's head coach, I wouldn't hesitate. I know exactly what I'd want. First, I'd want to be in touch with my sons and have my wife in town. As I've gotten older, this has become even more important to me. Maybe I've gotten a little perspective, a little wiser, a little more balanced, I don't know, but that's my first request. Next, I would not ask to coach another game. No. Give me one more week of coaching in preparation for the Ohio State game. And make it against the great Wayne Woodrow Hayes. Just give me 7 days from our film session on Sunday to my pregame speech on Saturday to get our guys ready for that game against the old man on the other side of the field. That would be it. The game would just be icing for me. Because if you're a real coach, a real leader, preparation is the thing. That's what you do. You work all week to get ready, and that's when you can put in your game plan, see what you've got, sense how your team is feeling, and sense what they need from you. And as you get ready for game day, like I said, the game would be the icing, but it's not the cake. And then, on Friday night, when I finished handing out the hot chocolate and the cookies during the bed check, and all my players, talked to them before they all went to bed, and I knew we were ready, and I mean really ready, then I could go back to my hotel room, sit in the corner of the bed, and just say, ah, and I'd be satisfied. And those are Bo's last words in the book. Henry David Thoreau said, it is an uncommon man who can design his own life. We all know Bo did that. I will tell you, it's a far more uncommon man who can not only do that, but also design his own departure. And Bo did that as well. The last week of his life, of course, was Ohio State week. He went to film session on Sunday. Shemmy was in town. They watched the Indiana game on Saturday. Shemmy came back for Tuesday practice. He went to practice on Thursday. They had to go to Tom Slade's funeral. Kathy was in town. That's what he wanted also. And Thursday night, against Lloyd Carr's protest, he gave one final rousing speech to his team and got them ready for Ohio State. He tailored his departure like no man I've ever seen and probably never will again. Not too many guys can do that. About death, he said this. In the last clause of the contract for the book, there's a clause in there that says that Bo's got to be around for the book signings and so on, the appearances, or else the last eighth or so is withheld. And he got really pissed at this. He says, Bacon, for Christ's sakes, what the hell are they worried about? Because if I keel over before your goddamn book comes out, it'll be worth twice as much. I could never have made that up. And you can't coach that right there. When I was trying to convince him to write the book, I had a hard time because he never saw himself as a big deal. He always said, I'm not Jonas Salk. I'm no Jonas Salk. And he didn't get it. I never saw a man who had a greater sense of himself, who he was and who he wasn't, and yet less of a sense of how we all saw him. All right, just an average Joe and all the rest is how he saw himself. That's not how we saw him. It was not his victories that drew us to him. It was his values, basic, simple values. Teamwork, hard work, integrity, and that's about it. We often said it's simple, but it's not easy, and it must not be easy because not many guys do it. And Bo did every day of his life. At the end there, we talked about one last thing, about the Special Olympics. He said he'd like to go down and help those guys out, play a little basketball with these kids who had no idea who he was, and he loved it. I said, why do you love it so much? He goes, I'll tell you why. Because I go down there and play basketball with these kids, and they have no idea who I am. To them, I'm just some old guy who used to coach football. And that's exactly how Bo saw himself. Just an old guy who used to coach football. We, of course, knew better. Bo, I miss you. We all do. Thank you, and go Blue.
In answer to your question, August is when the book comes out. So we'll all look forward to all of the stories from John Eubank and Bo.